Many of you might know Kerry Cronin as that lady that gives dating talks, or that awesome perspectives professor. Hopefully this introduction will shed a little more light as to her role here at Boston College. Professor Kerry Cronin hails from the Red Sox nation of Connecticut and lived in Hardy her freshman year at BC. Nice. She is the assistant director at the Lonergan Center at Boston College. She is a professor in the Perspectives program and currently teaches theology and philosophy in Perspectives 1. Professor Cronin not only gives lectures here at Agape Latte, but does dorm talks, halftime retreats, and is currently working on her PhD in higher education. She has been at Boston College for 15 years and started her talks on the popular issue of dating, relationships, and sexuality about 5 years ago. Professor Cronin has continued to give talks such as these here at BC and at other universities. She is not a stranger to Agape Latte and spoke in 2006 about mass appeal. She has given talks titled Dating 101, Sex and the Single Student, Sex in the University, and is here today to talk to us about the imperfect art of dating. Please welcome Professor Kerry Cronin.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, can you hear me? No? Yes? No? Is that good? P.S. She is single. So I'm just saying that. I don't know. Is that true? Are you? Yes. Okay. All right. This is going to be fun. Okay, so here's the thing. It's 12 minutes before 9, and so I know a lot of you are going to be bolting to go watch Lost. So if you're going to leave to watch Lost, can you move to the back? So you can, not depress me as you leave, right? Okay. Seriously, now that I look at this crowd, I thought, there they go, see? Wow, goodbye. So, don't date that person. I seriously thought there would be 8 people here, so I hope the talk is okay. So this is a new talk for me. It's a fresh new talk. So if you've heard me speak before, woohoo, you're in for something new. Okay, so first I have to thank a bunch of people besides you people for coming out. Isn't it freezing cold? And you're missing Lost. And I have to figure out how to use Hulu tomorrow so that I can watch Lost. And I'm not really high tech, so that could be a little bit of a stretch. But so I want to thank the C21 sponsors of this, and also Campus Ministry, who co-sponsor this event. And I also really want to thank the C21 Student Advisory Board, who really helped me on this. Sorry. Have you ever seen so many flyers? I really was oh no. Many trees died in the name of dating and relationships at Boston College, so yay. And they didn't die in vain, I hope. So we'll see how this is going to go. I'd also like to take a minute, because I'm going to read. I have some emails from former students of mine here. Uh-oh. Is it yours? That I'm going to read publicly. I'm changing pronouns and some information to protect the lives of innocent people, but the guilty, I'll just read their stuff right out. But that puts me in mind to thank students who have, over the years, since I started talking about this on campus, who have shared with me lots of stories, sometimes way too much information, but okay, but I would really like to thank people for their candor and their honesty and their upfrontness. Hey, Dan, back there, I see you. Yes, you. And so I want to thank students. Some of these students have long graduated, but maybe they're going to watch this eventually, so thanks. And I won't name your name. Okay, so I got 2 emails in the last week that I thought were sort of important. What am I doing? I don't know where I'm getting that feedback, but whoa. Okay, so I got these 2 emails, and I want to kind of begin and end with these emails. So here's the first one. Is it the paper that's creating the feedback? Whoa. Okay, so here's an email I just got from a Boston College senior. And, I find that seniors they're such an interesting species, right? I mean, I tend to teach freshmen, but people tell me things as they go through the 4 years. And by senior year, in particular, with respect to dating and relationships, people get a little freaky, right? So, yeah, you know who you are, yeah. So, So here's this email that I got from a senior recently. And let me tell you just something about this young woman. She came to BC, and I actually didn't happen to have her in class, but I got to know her through somebody. And we started a conversation about relationships and dating. And she was sort of she spent pretty much all of her years at BC here thus far hooking up or opting out. So if you've heard me speak before, you sort of know what I mean by that. And so, but she would come and see me, and we'd talk, and she'd email me and say, I think you're wrong, I'm fine with this, whatever. But then as it unfolded, she was clearly sort of getting more and more upset about her loneliness and sort of what was going on in her life. And in the past year, we've had it's you. Meredith. It's conversations about her sort of loneliness at BC and her inability to really connect with people. And she's beginning to realize as a senior that possibly she's going to graduate from Boston College without really having the kind of intimate relationship that she wants. And here's what she wrote to me just last week. In the past, when I've trusted people, it definitely sucked. It's off to a good start. I felt like they had just been using me to pass the time, and like they didn't actually care about me. I know that's not always the case, but I can't help the way it made me feel. It hurt, and I hate feeling that way. And I have been thinking about this a lot lately because there is someone I'm interested in, and I acted in a way toward them to make them think otherwise. We hooked up, and I pretended that I didn't care about it at all because I didn't want to get hurt. Here's the line that hit me. This was the last line. She didn't even sign it. Please fix me. Okay. Now, I know. As a person who cares about students, I got to say, when you read something like that, it's really tragic. And I start to think, here I go on film. Oh shit, we got to do something, right? So, but my problem is, I can't fix that, and I need her to try to fix that, right? And we can't fix this whole situation. Like, there's a culture that's setting the conditions, right, for this hookup culture that we're in. And we can't solve that. But what we can do is talk about it and have conversations that start here and then sort of move out to your dorm rooms and your apartments and your classrooms. And then maybe we together can sort of fix it for ourselves a little bit. So here's what I think. For years I've been giving a talk, a basic talk. Have you heard the talk before? I give it in dorms, I give it in auditoriums, I give it to anyone who'll listen, in the Dust Bowl, whatever. And in the talk, I describe the hookup culture, right? I describe the rules of hookup as I have come to understand them over the years. And it's fun, and I'm throwing index cards, and I don't know, whatever. But I realized that, okay, I need to give the next talk, right? So here's the talk, because I'm assuming that if you're here, you have at least some ostensible interest in dating, or it really is you, or maybe it's my watch, that you have some interest in dating or relationships or what have you, right? So here's the next talk. I thought, okay, I'm going to just go on. Let's move on. If you were going to date, what would it look like? Hence the title, which the Student Advisory Board came up with, excellent, The Imperfect Art of Dating. And it is so imperfect. It sucks sometimes. It is messy, it's disgusting, you're vulnerable, it's risky, it's all that good stuff. So what would it look like? Because, you're thinking, I know what dating is. I've seen it on TV on Nick at Night. I think I got that down, right? But Professor Cronin, we're in the hookup thing here. This is what we do. I'm gonna do that later, that dating thing. But of course, as I tell students all the time, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're just gonna be doing hooking up with money later, right? Which, right? If you've heard me, that's closer to prostitution. So here's the thing. Hooking up, we know, is a script. It's a social script that's going on at most colleges. There's another script, and it's this dating script, but a lot of people in colleges don't know that script anymore. Right? You've heard of it. You've heard tell of it. It's this ancient ritual that your parents and grandparents practice. But here's how it would go. And I for a bunch of years, I taught this sort of junior, senior seminar. It was like a capstone thing called Vertices. I don't know if some of you have heard of it. I used to talk about all kinds of things in that class with students. But one of the things that I talked about, which was what everybody wanted to talk about, was the dating assignment. So here's what I did. I gave a dating assignment The first time I gave the dating assignment, people were like, oh, this is so exciting. Yes, I'm going to go on a date. Ooh, this is very exciting. But then, like, they didn't. So the second time I did this, I got smart. I got Machiavellian. I said, you cannot pass the class unless you go on a date. Can't pass the class. So then they got really freaked out, but they went on dates. So I got a lot of really great stuff from students, responses, because here were the rules of the date, right? You must ask someone out in person. I know who you are, because, like, you all heard about this talk on Facebook, right? Like, I'm not on Facebook. I'm too old for that stuff. But Facebook, you're like stalking people. It's social networking. I know, you all tell me it's like I'm keeping in touch with people. No, you're not. You're stalking people. It's a dating mechanism. You're hoping, but it's not really working out for you that well. So here's the thing. You have to, if you're going to do this dating assignment, which you should all do, you have to ask somebody out in person, but I allow the phone. Texting is the devil. Stop it. So, you need to ask somebody out, somebody in whom you have a legitimate interest, right? So this is not your best friend, this is not somebody you just are stuck in the friend zone with. This is somebody you really like and really could date, okay? So that's part of the rule. Then it has to be a level 1 date, and that's what I'm going to talk about later. A level 1 date. We'll talk about what that is, okay? You should plan the date yourself, ladies. And you should pay, ladies. If you ask, you pay. That's a nice thing. It shows care and concern, right? And then there should be no alcohol or physical interaction during the date, because it's a level 1 date. We're going to talk about what that means. The only physical interaction is what? An A-frame hug. Shoulders in. Butts out. Right. That is appropriate for the end of a level 1 date. Of course, my favorite story, which I'm determined to tell tonight because I forgot to tell it the last time I gave a talk like this, is my favorite story. Oh my gosh, she's still a student here who came to the class because the class has to report back on the date. So he comes back to report in front of the whole class about the date. And the date went well. And, like, he's getting nervous because the end of the date, the end of the date, like, what are you going to do? And he's remembering that there's some sort of a rule about the end of the date. Like, there's a rule, like, about physical interaction. I can't remember what I'm supposed to do. And so he high-fives her. It was the best story ever. Right? Can you imagine? She must have been like, great. I don't think it really moved anywhere after that, but okay. So, A-frame hug, please. So, the thing here about the dating assignment is that what I did was I set up a scheme for students to follow. I gave them an assignment, gave them permission to do this crazy thing called dating, and gave them some motivation to date, which everybody sort of has, but everybody's a little freaked out by it and scared, so nobody does it, and it looks kind of weird. Everybody, all the guys, particularly at BC, tell me, and that's how they do it. Do not let the women here tell you that they want to go on dates, because you ask someone out and like they think like you're asking them to marry you, like, whoa, like, yeah. Or they say yes, and then 3 days later, after they've spoken to 800 of their closest friends, they're like, oh, I don't think so, I think we're just friends. So here's the thing. If we were going to do this, if we were going to have a campus where dating was okay, where it was casual, where it was no big wig-out thing, we'd have to all sort of look around at who's here and say, you now know Kerry Cronin's schema of dating, so here's how it goes. Okay, I should have done a PowerPoint, but my students know I wouldn't ever get that together, so you gotta go with me visually here. Okay, so there's 3 levels of dating, as I understand it. I sound like I do this all the time, right? Like, if you know anybody, I'm available too, but I clearly don't know what the hell I'm doing with dating because I'm old and not married yet, but I'm working on it. Okay, so here we go. Level 1 dating are the first 3 dates, right? Dates 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 dating is reconnaissance work only. You are gathering information. You don't necessarily know if you like the person romantically. Maybe this is going to be a friend thing. Now, so a level 1 date is, I used to say 45 minutes to 90 minutes, and I would like to keep that. Sometimes I say 60 to 90 minutes. The important number here is 90 minutes. It should not go longer than 90 minutes. If it's longer than 90 minutes, you're tanking. No one's interesting on the first date after 90 minutes. You think you are, but you're not. So what you need to do in that 45 to 60-minute period is try to kind of reveal things about yourself that are appealing, act like you care about the other person, gather information, see what you think, right? So a level 1 date should be sort of, it could be a daytime thing, right? It should be a daytime thing. Oh, it should not be a, want to go for a walk around the reservoir at 2 in the morning. Yeah, you know. That is sketchy. That's not right. Stop that. A level 1 date, the first date, a level 1 date is, I used to say that coffee place down there, but now they closed. How rude are they? So White Mountain is a good first date. This lovely cafe here, not right now, but otherwise it's a good first, maybe it is a good first date for you. Look around. A good first date is not far from campus because you don't want to have to like spend a lot of that 60 to 90 minutes in transportation, right? But like chill, where is that? Cleveland Circle. Cleveland Circle, perfect. Right, a student once said to me, Professor Cronin, I think this dating thing that you're talking about is pretty smart. I've been hooking up with this guy for a while, and I think I should talk to him sober. I said, yes. That's a great idea. See, your successes in this business come, like, slowly. So she said, where would we go? I said, well, there's this city called Boston. She said, how would we get there? Honest to God. I said, the T? That's just a guess. She said, well, then we'd have to talk on the T. I said, see, that is a date. Right. You would speak soberly and get to know each other somewhere. But chill, it would be a great date because you'd be on the bus for a little while. Hopefully you wouldn't see too many people you know. And you'd get there, and then the $15 gift certificate would pay for things. There wouldn't be any awkwardness. And then you'd go home, and it's chill. That's nice. So that would be a good first date thing. Okay, so level 1 dating is casual. It's not about, I might love you. That's scary. That is frightening. And this is why I would like to tell students to stop stealth dating. Stealth dating is when you're dating someone and they don't know it. BC students are so good at stealth dating. You're very stealthy. It's when you just say to someone, do you want to hang out? Want to hang out and watch a movie? No. Asking someone out is the way to go because when you stealth date someone for a long time, then when you actually ask them out, you're already completely emotionally invested. You're already way down the line. Emotionally. And the other person is thinking, I haven't even really thought of you this way. I don't know. So if you ask somebody out sort of quickly, sort of like you meet them, you might have an interest, go. Go on the date. Dates 1, 2, and 3 should be all these sorts of level 1 dates. This is just finding out. You should be dating several people like this. If we could do this, the idea would be that it's not a big deal. If you don't want to go out again, it's no big deal. Nobody's getting hurt. This isn't about, I saw your deepest self, and I'm rejecting it. You know? Which is kind of what's been happening on the Boston College dating scene, which is really, where's the Boston College dating scene happening? on retreats and service trips, and where you are seeing each other's deepest, truest selves and then saying, yeah, not so much. Or, yes, let's do this. So dating level 1 dating is just, let's find out. Let's do some information gathering. Let's find this out. So that's dates 1, 2, and 3. There's a second level of dating. So moving from level 1 to level 2, and let me tell you, I'm very specific about those 3. You should not go out with somebody on a 3rd or 4th date if you really think you have no interest, if there's really nothing going on there. You should only need 1, 2, 2.5, 3 dates, and that's it. You've done your information gathering. If you don't like the person, move on. Time to move on. A couple of things you need to know here when you're doing this kind of dating. 1, how to let somebody down with dignity. You don't have to say, look, I just think you're weird. You don't need to do that, right? All you got to say is, I just don't think it's happening. I just don't think it's happening, but you are a great person, and I think I'd like to fix you up with someone else. Passing someone along is a great idea in level 1 dating, not in level 2 or level 3 dating. So let's move to that. Level 2 dating is dates 4 and on. In level 2 dating, everybody knows what's going on. Meaning, if you are into those dates, you should, I think it's I'm not like stripping down. I'm just trying to get, this is not that show. Right. I'm just trying to get rid of feedback. Okay. Level 2 dating would be where you know that you're interested and you know the other person is really legitimately interested in you. Romantically interested, you're moving on. But this stage can last for a long time. It can last for days or dates or weeks or even months. Level 2 is really where you're beginning to reveal yourself to the other person, and you're beginning to get to know that person really well and wondering where this could go, but you're not sure. But level 2 dating is exclusive. Because as I always say, I think in level 1 dating, where there isn't any making out going on, oh gosh, I don't want Father Leahy to watch this, that you should be casually dating a couple of people to find out what you need to find out. But once you're kissing somebody, that's it. You got to focus. Focus. Okay? Focus. So, in level 2 dating, and this can go for a while, level 2 dating sort of is like, oh, wait, I meant to do this. Can I do this? Can we back up just a little bit? Okay. I want to read you some emails of students. I hope nobody's in the room who wrote these. Okay, here's how it goes. So I give this assignment, and then students write their reflections about the dates, and then they come and talk about it in class. And I want to read you some of the excerpts of, and I'm old, so I have to put my glasses on. Okay, so here are some responses about the date. I'm just picking out excerpts. When we got the dating assignment, the next day in Vertices class, I knew that he was the person I would ask out on my date. But I got really nervous about how and when I would ask him, and more importantly, his reaction to me asking him. I decided that I needed to ask him out as soon as possible so it wouldn't stress me out. Students do not like stress. You guys are all stressed out. When he said yes, I got super excited and was beaming for the rest of the day because I never thought I would have built up the courage to actually ask someone at BC on a date, because it meant I had to put myself in such a vulnerable position and possibly face rejection. What surprised me about this whole experience was how unawkward it was. It felt so comfortable and relaxed when we were on the date itself. And he knew about the dating assignment, so it was easy to break the ice. At the 100 Days dance, she was a senior, people that I had no idea knew about the date would come up to me and ask how it went or when it was happening. All my friends were telling me how inspired they were and that they were going to ask people out and how brave I was. I'm like, she's going to Haiti or something. Get this, no lie, I'm reading right from it. I honestly felt like a goddess. All because I simply asked someone out for coffee. Next, I'd been dreading asking someone for 2 weeks. This is what I do to people. Trying to get up the courage to do it. At first, I planned to start with telling someone about the assignment and then asking, but then I figured, it would be more real to just ask someone out and then disclose what it was for later. That's nice. I only asked you because it was an assignment. For some reason, I was still nervous to ask him, so she goes on, and could tell that I was shaking a bit when I asked. I was jittery for a while afterwards, too. It's crazy. Stop drinking coffee. My body felt like I had just finished a 200-meter dash as I slowly walked up to my target. It's crazy. My pulse was pounding. My hands started to moisten. And for the life of me, I couldn't keep eye contact with the person I was about to ask out. Yikes, freak show. Okay. No, I love all these kids. Okay. Initially, I had a challenging time figuring out who I was going to be able to ask out, but then I settled on Matt. We sat next to each other at Sunday Mass. Nice place to meet someone. After spring break, even if you're not Catholic, go. And I was sure I would have the perfect opportunity to ask him then. However, after Mass, he was engrossed in conversation with his Agape group members. He's a good guy. And I was unsure about approaching him to pull him aside to ask. Later that week, I emailed him asking for his phone number. Figured that if I did not run into him, at least I would be able to call him. On Tuesday night, I know, it's like, what happens? On Tuesday night, I ran into my friend Meg. Oops, I shouldn't have mentioned her name, sorry. His Agape leader, and told her about my date dilemma. She informed me that our group was getting together at Hillside at 11:30 the next day. I was conveniently in Hillside that next morning, reading casually at a table, and finally, the perfect opportunity to ask him was there. I pulled him aside, asked him to coffee, and he agreed. Yay. And it was a fabulous date. Last one of this, okay. The most stressful part of the entire process was the initial phone call, which ended in a voicemail. I was so nervous. Would he say yes? There was a lot of strategy involved in choosing my date. He had to be a talker. I'm sorry, it was a she. Would she say yes? She had to be a talker. Otherwise, it would have just been awkward. And we hate awkward. The phone conversation wasn't stressful. He called her back later. After she said yes. She was really cool about it, actually. We talked about it during the date, too. I told her that if I was not able to, say that I had to ask her out for class, then I would have been too scared to complete the assignment. This was a senior. That was the first date I have been on since arriving at BC. As I said before, the only stressful part was asking. The rest went so smoothly. I was surprised at how calm I was right before, during, and after the date. That's the kind of level 1 dating that I'm talking about, and the kind of feelings that people have when they try this, because it is so odd and awkward and not the thing that we're doing in colleges. And I find this when I go and I speak all over at different schools. It's the same story everywhere, and everybody's upset about it. Nobody seems to like it, but nobody seems to be able to fix it. So, if you do this, you might get to move to level 2 dating, where level 2 dating is where really some of the, it's not the work, it's really the enjoyment stuff. It's where okay, the dates can be longer than 90 minutes. Woohoo! Yeah, you can go to a movie now, because that takes 2 hours. You can go to a movie and coffee, or even dinner. Woohoo! You can get on the T, you can do this at night. It could include a walk around the reservoir. Kind of. But level 2 dating can go on for a while, because still, in level 2 dating, everybody's responsible for his or her feelings. Nobody's really taking the burden of somebody else's heart yet, because that is level 3 dating. So if you follow this scheme, you sort of work through that level 1 dating, then into level 2 dating, you'd need to make the shift. There would be shifting, right? From level 1 to level 2, there's a sort of acknowledgement that I really kind of think I like you. And I'd like it if we want this to be an exclusive thing and figure out what's happening here. The shift from level 2 to level 3 involves the DTR, the define the relationship talk. The sort of, what do you think this is thing, right? And when I'm always talking to my to the St. Thomas More kids. These are the kids who are sort of having like, they're not involved in hookups, they're involved in sort of the spiritual hookups, right? It's like, we're walking at the labyrinth, right? And so, for them I always say, look, like, if you are really considering a religious life, you should not be entering into level 3 dating, right? But level 2, level 1, and level 2 dating might be part of a good discernment process. Because that's what you're doing, you're discerning. You're discerning if you want to move into relationship. And level 3 dating is relationship work. And the reason I say this is because it's not in level 1 or level 2 dating. And that's what I think is part of the scary thing for BC students, that level 1 dating seems to be so serious, right? And this is the weird thing about dating in the hookup culture, that going out for coffee is the big deal. But like stripping down and hooking up with somebody, it's no big deal, right? So if we could get actually just going for lunch or going for coffee with somebody to be the normal, just figure it out kind of thing, that might work a little bit better. And it might result in people being a little less lonely, a little less wiggy, which is helpful, right? And it might move us toward a little bit more intimacy. Because I'll tell you, and I say this over and over again, and I really, really believe this. Boston College students are so good at friendship. I see students here who have incredibly good, intimate, and deep friendships. But this, moving on to romantic relationships, we're sort of lost. Don't go. We're pretty lost on this. And it seems more difficult than it should be. So, a level 2 date might sound like this. Here's a student who wrote me an email in response to this question. What's the best date you've ever been on? The best level 2 date? And here's what he said. The best date that I ever went on was with a girl at BC who asked me out. She made reservations at this place in the North End that had a fully opening front window. And we had dinner inside, facing outside. It was one of the first really good days of the year, so it was good not to be inside. And that was what she had been hoping all along. After that, we walked everywhere. We took a lap around the Fleet Center, went along the water that's over there. She's a hockey player. When we found a hockey rink, she got all excited. Eventually, we found a playground, which, you know where that is down there in the North End? And so we played like idiots for half an hour or so in our dress clothes. Then we just sat on the bench next to the water and just shut up for a while. Sometimes it's good to just sit with someone, though usually those times don't come for both people at the same time. But eventually the silence turned into a really good conversation about family and home and everything. And it lasted until the sun went down. It was kind of sappy and nothing really special in the sense that anything happened that doesn't usually happen when you're just hanging out back in someone's room. But we were dressed up and we actually went somewhere. You can do the exact same stuff you do back at home, but when you take yourself out of the BC bubble, it's totally different. So that is a level 2 date. So what is it that's different about what's going on in a level 2 date and a level 3 date that I want you guys to get to? And here's what I think it is. It's about revelation. I want to tell you actually, I debated about talking about this because it's a marriage story. And I don't want you to think that marriage is definitely about, that dating's about marriage. Although, obviously, it sort of is, right? There's a telos there. There's a name. Oh, I know. She's speaking Greek. Okay, so I went to this wedding about, gosh, it had to be 7 or 8 years ago. And it was the most beautiful wedding I think I've ever been to. And the couple was standing there, and the groom was a good friend of mine. And they were standing there under this gorgeous huppah, I think, is that what it's called? Huppah. And which is sort of a Jewish traditional thing that they have in a wedding, a thing that they have. And the groom and the bride were saying their vows to each other as the rabbi led them. But then they spoke to each other and said vows that they had written. And he said to her something which I'll never forget. And I think it's what every person really it's the sort of thing that every person really longs to hear from somebody else, from another person in your life. He said, I used to read Scripture and think, wow, God chose to reveal himself to the Jewish people, to human beings, and that was done. But he said, when I met you, I realized that God was revealing himself to me through you. You are my revelation of God's love in the world. Not to ruin the moment, but shit, right? And it's an incredible thing, and it's an incredible feeling. And we all have a deep longing for that, to reveal ourselves to someone and to let them reveal themselves to us. And that is the point of love. And it's the point of dating, too, on a smaller scope. To reveal yourself to somebody and to let the feelings about that revelation unfold and unfurl and to let it happen at a usual pace, right? So I always say, you know, the thing about dating at BC, or at any college really, is this, right? You can, like, date someone and go out and have a good time and then sort of have a fight and then break up and then get back together again and then meet their parents and, you know, hate their friends and have drama and all this and break up again and get back together again and really solve your problems all in about 10 days. Because it's so intense here, right? But feelings, to reveal our feelings to ourselves even, to reveal our feelings to another person takes time. It takes time for that to sort of play out. It takes time to sort through our feelings and to bring them from around behind our own backs, right? And that's what dating should be. That in that first sort of level, what you're doing is just finding out if you want to reveal yourself to that person. And then in level 2, to really do some of that work of sort of opening yourself up, of doing that kind of work that first student's email indicated that she couldn't do. That she had gotten to senior year and realized she didn't know how to do that at all. She didn't know how to sort of reveal herself, right? And to let somebody do that with her. And so the revelation that I think dating really can precipitate for us and can really be on this campus is something that I think we really long for and that we really want to strive for. And I think that if we could expand the conversation here on campus to really open ourselves up a little bit more, because what I hear from, this would be a great thing, because what I hear from students all the time is, yeah, I wish it weren't this way, but it is. We just don't date, we just don't do that thing, right? But yet, here you all are, and I keep giving these talks, and people keep coming. I really keep expecting you not to show up anymore, and to say, she's just old, what does she know, right? But I think it could really work. I think it could really happen. And part of the thing that's tough about the dating scene here at BC is because it's so polarized, right? Because it's so sort of strangely awkward or freakish to date somebody, and the hookup scene is so sort of ugly and weird that people just opt out or they get into these crazy serious relationships way too fast. So if we made this a little more accessible, if we made this a little more available, if you went on a dating assignment, or, here, let me say the rest of the dating assignment, if you're dating somebody, your dating assignment in the class was to fix somebody up. There's 10,000 undergrads here. Let's get on this. So you all, in this room, look around, have a dating assignment. I want to wrap this up by reading the last email that I got this week. This is from a student who I had also been talking to for a while, who started dating somebody recently. Beth and I are a couple now. I'm so happy that we're together. Thank you for encouraging me to do this. She's an incredible person, and I think we complement each other very well. She's met all my friends, and she fits in with them. I made sure that they would be themselves, mostly to shield her. We can be a pretty obnoxious crowd. My friends didn't disappoint, but mostly Beth was able to be herself among them, and so was I. She met my mom and sister on Monday when they drove me back after a long weekend. It was only an hour. It was a good first date with the family. I'll meet her family on Sunday. I am big time nervous, but I'm hopeful. What I wish for this campus is for us to have this conversation here, and then for each of you to go and talk to 6 people on campus about this and ask if this is a crazy idea. And then ask somebody out. Because whether or not it's a crazy idea, I think that real intimacy in friendships is fantastic. But I think what I hear from students is a deep, deep longing for the kind of relationships that we're not really getting to have all the time at BC. And so I would like to hear your comments and questions. I really want to thank the people who just stood for that whole long talk. Total props to you. The people who are sitting, well, whatever, not so much. You did a great job. Those sitting in chairs, too bad about you. So, I really thank you for listening. I would really love to hear your comments and questions. I know you're exhausted and you might want to get home to see just the end of that. But thanks for your attention, and get out there and get on a date. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a question, say something wise and sage-like, and then I'm going to take a question from some brave soul who wants to sort of ask something out loud. But I know who you are. Okay, so here's a question. I put them in order, but no particular order. Okay, we were together for 2.5 years. Oh, come on, you're not compassionate at all. Completely head over heels for each other, like Corey and Topanga from Blink. I don't even know what that is. You know what that is? Is that a good thing? It's a good thing? Oh, it's even sadder. I'm sorry. No, I don't mean to make fun. I don't know. But you apparently, this is a cultural reference I should have. Okay. We've recently broken up to date other people. How can I allow myself to date somebody else when he's still better than all the others in my mind? There you go. You do have hearts. All right. Okay, so here's the thing. This is really crucial. 2 important words. In the ability to date, you must remember this slogan. Because when it is time, you need to use this slogan. Move on. Sometimes the moving on is after the breakup. You allow yourself for a time to wallow. Not much time. Wallowing is ugly. I mean, not like physically ugly, but it's, take a shower. Right, okay. Stop wallowing and move on. Moving on is important on lots of levels of this. Here's the thing. When you stealth date someone, you tend to you're imagining the relationship that's not happening, and you don't move on. You got to ask somebody out and move on. Similarly, when you break up with someone, you've got to decide. You've got to make a decision about how much time you are going to wallow about this. And then you're going to check that amount of time with some friends to see if the amount of time, like if you say 18 years, is that okay? Check with some wise friends and find out how much time the time should be. Ask for some support from friends. You know you can get it. And then move on. It is time to get on with it, okay? You can't find out a lot about yourself just wallowing and hanging on to an old thing. And there is a question in here about if I'm not sort of married and haven't figured this out, how can I, I don't think the person was sort of, being pissy, but how can I tell anybody about long-term relationships? Well, I've had some. I've been in love. And I don't think that the next time I'm going to fall in love, it's necessarily going to be better than that person. It's going to be foundationally different. When you fall in love with somebody who's different, it's just different. And so you got to understand that it doesn't have to be better or worse. It's just going to be qualitatively and quantitatively different. So you sort of have to move on. And maybe it won't be Corey and Topanga? Really? Am I saying that right? Is that what it is? Yeah. But it'll be I can't think of. I wish I could come up with some quick couple, right? Can you think of somebody? it'll be something different. Falling in love can happen again, but you have to make a decision about wanting that in your life. Okay, so who wants to ask a question? Out loud. Ooh, in the back, yes.
All right, how well should you know someone before you ask them on the first date? Like, can you know them pretty well?
Yes.
Do you not know them well enough?
That's a great question. I can throw out this question now.
I don't think we know when the right time is.
You're so right that you don't know when the right time is. Not you, but us. I don't know you, but I have heard about you. No, I'm only kidding. No, that's such a good question, because you can know somebody too little to ask them out, right? Because you want to be that person who's like coming out from behind a building like, hey, you don't know me, but, right? I mean, you have to have some kind of a connection, right? And then you don't want to be the person, though, who, it's really difficult. And there's a couple of people who've written about this in here. Sort of I've known this person for 2 years and have loved him the whole time. It's not going to work. It's not going to work because you've already been having the relationship. You're already way too far in. So you might have a legitimate interest, but it's sort of, you did the damage. So getting stuck in the friend zone is just a reality. And you might be there, right? You're going to have to come up with the honesty thing, though, if you know the person really well. And that is a big risk. It feels very vulnerable. But you got to say it. You got to offer it like, look, you're an important person in my life. I think the world of you. In fact, I really think the world of you. But so you have to sort of put it out there, but be willing to hear no. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that, wow, I know you so well, I don't want to go out with you. It just means it might not be there. The chemistry might not be there. But you can kind of know somebody a little too well sometimes for a first level date. Like, what are you going to do with this person you've known for 3 years? You're going to go to coffee and start asking questions again? It's kind of weird. So when you've known somebody for a long time, you have to sort of jump, right, into level 2. And that can create a lot of problems. Similarly, there's a question in here. Can you transition from hooking up to dating? I got to say this. Lots of people say, oh, yeah, that's him, or there was, that's how it sort of happened. I wasn't pointing at you, but okay. So that's how it happened. See, I know, can you believe it? And they filmed you. So you could start that way, but it's not the best way. It's not an ideal way. It leads to a lot of confusion, a lot of hurt feelings, and a lot of sort of miscues, right? So that's a really great question. Let me just say this, because I usually tell this story in verses. It might be too much information for you, but here we go. When I was a student here at BC, I had a class in Campion, and it was like a Tuesday, Thursday, 1:30 class, so I would be going into Campion and on Tuesdays, and I would pretty much always see this guy who I knew through some other friends, and he would be coming out of his class in Campion before that. And so we would see each other from January this started, and it moved through to February, and it was right around now, right? Because it's so great to give a talk about this right now, because, with that special holiday on the horizon, it's like a feast day of misery coming. And so it was right around now, so we'd been in classes a couple of weeks, and he said, hey, would you be interested in going to see a movie or something? And I said, yeah, okay, great. So actually, it went really well. I hadn't thought of him in that way, but it went really well. We started dating. We got really serious. Later, when we were sort of seriously dating, he said, yeah, by the way, I didn't have a class in Campion. Okay. Whoa. See? Now, here's what happens when I tell that story. Half of the group says, oh, that is so sweet. And the other half is like, stalkers! Right? The other half is saying, that is so scary that he did that. But what he was doing, I thought it was sweet. It worked out. What he was doing was, I hadn't seen him in about 2 semesters. And I knew him through other people. He wanted to make me feel comfortable. He didn't want it to just be random. So there are things you can do to sort of make the introduction. Okay, you can stalk and lie, but if it that's good. I'm sure that Aristotle wouldn't agree with that. But, okay. Did I answer your question? Probably not. But I'm moving on. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Okay. I broke up with a serious relationship before coming here in September. I feel like I can never tell what people are looking for. How can I tell if they want to hook up or if they actually want to date? This is crucial. This is crucial because part of this dating thing is you need to be able to learn how to read and send signals. Read and send signals, right? The first time I gave this talk, I gave a talk with Dr. Marina McCoy and Dr. Mary Troxel, and we were on a panel, and students were there, and a student stood up and said this, like, she said, I think I'm sending signals all the time, but I don't know, nobody seems to know that they're there. And this very nice young man from across the auditorium stood up and said, we can't read them. See, sometimes it just helps for people to just say it, right? Like, it's hard to give signals. You think you're being so obvious, right? But you're not. You need to be really obvious. College students, I mean, you guys are smart, but you're dumb. I mean, you know, with all respect. I mean, you're so bright, but in terms of this stuff, you don't know what you're doing. So you can be sending huge signals, and nobody's listening or getting those signals. So you gotta know how to give and read signals. You also need to know, you gotta figure out who just wants to hook up and who wants to date. Guess what? People who really want to date, who really know that this is what they want, will stop hooking up. You gotta stop hooking up. And most of them aren't hooking up. So if you really want to find somebody to date, you got to identify the people who are hooking up and not let your heart get involved there. Again, move on. Where are you going to find people who probably do want to date? Well, I don't know. They might be standing in this room. I don't know. They might be in clubs or at churches or on retreats or things like that. And the thing about it is communicating what you want. And first of all, if you want to date, if you want a relationship, you have got to make the move to stop hooking up. Because if people identify you as such, you're not going to get to where you want to be. Anybody want to shout out a question? Yes?
What are the no-no, like, for conversations for, like, first level dates?
Oh, that's such a good question. What not to talk about? You know, have you ever watched, like, episodes of The Bachelor where the women are sort of like, I want to have babies, you know? It's not good, right? I mean, so that's an obvious one. But here's the thing. You know, when you go on a level 1 date, you got to think of it as 1 hour, right? 1 hour is a level 1 date. What are you going to talk about? If you don't know the person very well, you're going to talk about, you know, what classes are you taking? Where are you from? Those kinds of things. You want to ask questions. You want to draw the person out a little bit. Find out sort of what their interests are. But you don't want to be an interrogator, right? You want to help them find out important things about you. But what are some topics that really are not good for level 1? Can I please tell you about all my past relationships? Please? And how hurt I was by them? No. Right? Somebody says here, should Yankee and Red Sox fans date? No. Don't talk about it. Do not talk about elections. Do not talk about controversial things. Give the person a chance to really sort of show what's positive about that person, right? There are scripted things, right? There are scripted things that you can ask. And one of the scripts that I'd like to share with people is this. It's the getting the check thing, getting the bill for the food for whatever you're doing. Here it is. And I give this all the time. I know many of you have heard it before. Some of you know this, you use it. So the bill comes, or the person in White Mountain says, this is the thing. And so the conversation goes like this. The person says, oh, no, let me. And you say, no, let me. And the other person says, well, no, really, why don't we split it? You know how that goes, that script? And then you say the following. Here it comes. No, I'll get it this time. You can get it next time. Slick. That is slick. I'm like one of my best. That is slick. I cannot share much more wisdom than that. You say that as so you're not only showing care and concern, you're not only being suave, you're also sort of indicating, like, I'm interested here. I would do this again. I'm just letting you know. It's a signal. You're sending a signal, right? If the person says, no, I really want to pay. I've had that happen. You got to just move on. Okay, right. Will you go on a casual level 1 date with me? No. I could get fired for that. No. Oh, I like this one. What about the who is less interested competition? Yes, we call this the principle of least interest, right? The principle of least interest works in hookup culture, right? Because the person with less interest wins in hookup culture, right? Hookup culture is, I don't care. I don't give a damn. What? Who are you again? What is your name again? Right? That gives you power. In dating, the least interested party does not win. It's the opposite. So the principle of least interest does not work in dating. So you got to sort of get out of that habit if you've been in hookup culture. Because in hookup culture, the virtue is chill. The virtue is, I don't care, whatever. That's what hookup culture demands. Dating demands a different virtue. It demands honesty. It demands, I care. It demands showing that you care even when it's a risk. Can you do it? We shall see. Another question from the crowd. Anybody? 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 Yes?
I met someone I would kind of like to date, but I plan on studying abroad all next year. So is that fair for me to ask about on a date, or am I kind of over?
You're going abroad next year. All of next year. Starting in September. Which is just months away. You could date 3 different people between now and then. I don't understand this question. Students say this crap to me all the time. I know, you're not saying crap to me. It's a legit question, but it's not. It's weird. No, get that person. Get now. Like tonight. Get started. Because here's the thing. There are questions in here about long-distance relationships. Get over it. You can do it if you want to. But by then, you might find out, not so much. You could find out a ton of things between now and then. No, you should definitely be dating now. The people who should not be dating, and I got to tell you this, I am so sick of this. Here's what happens to me all the time. The students having conversations with me about this, they're like hemming and hawing for 3.5, 4 years. And, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm too busy for like years. I'm too busy. And then, no lie, this happens all the time. 3 weeks before graduation, I get seniors at my door. Professor Cronin, I think you're right. I really want to date somebody. And I'm like, it's too late. It's too late. Get out of here. We're done with you. I mean, we're not. But, I had a young woman a bunch of years ago who she kept talking about dating, talking about it, but never sort of got on that project. And then, seriously, she comes to see me during the last week of classes. It was actually during exams, her senior year. And she said, I just asked 2 different guys out. What do I do now? I said, you know what? This is not my problem. You created this problem. I don't know what you do now. What do you mean, what do I do now? You should have done this 2 years ago. So please, ask that person out now. In fact, I always say to students, before you go abroad, that's a great time to ask somebody out. Because here's the thing. If it's not going anywhere, well, you're just going to Europe or wherever. Sorry, I got to go to Europe. It's great. But if it goes well, you can sort of learn how to do the long-distance thing, which is it's a whole different communication skill set. Although Skype, that's weird. Like, I don't know. I talked to my nephew on Skype. He's in Belgium. I'm like, what? You're all over the place. I don't know. But good luck with that. I know people who are doing it. So get on that. You should date. You should have several relationships between now and then. Yes. Good. Okay, a question. Ooh. Wait. Ooh. Why is the BC marriage statistics so high, but so many students here are single or in hookup relationships? Right, because it's a lie. It's a lie. No, maybe it's not a lie, but guess what? It's not going to be true for your generation because you guys aren't working this out. But here's the thing. I actually think it's a myth. We need to get the alumni people to do the study on this. BC students say this to me all the time. I read somewhere that 82% of BC students marry other BC students, but I haven't dated anybody while I'm here. What's going on? Am I the only one? No, you're not. The dating script is falling apart. It's fallen apart. Hooking up has so dominated the cultural dating scene. Even if people aren't actually primarily hooking up, it's what's being talked about. And so dating looks like it's pretty gone. And actually then, that's why it results in people sort of getting wigged out when you ask them out, because it's so unusual. But the marrying BC people is not what you need to be worried about. What you need to be worried about is, why aren't you finding somebody to date while you're here? Students say this to me all the time. Listen to this one. I bet you've said this before. I really just can't find anybody to date. I just can't find anybody that I'm interested in. What? There's 10,000 students here. How many do you need? I mean, really? And then there's another several thousand master's degree students. And if you're a junior or senior, you can date them. Where are you going to get these numbers again? Seriously, what are you waiting for? If you are 19 years old and can't find anybody you're interested in, we need you to get your hormone level checked. We can do that at the health center. Yes. Okay, wait. If I can't read your writing, I'm going on. Does anybody? How about a question from the crowd, please? Yes.
If you want to date a friend of a close friend, how delicately should you handle it, or is that no?
Let me just say this. You should handle this not delicately at all. I surprised you, didn't I? Being delicate is what got you in this bad place, this friend zone in the first place. Because you're like, I don't want to ruin the friendship. I hear this also from BC students. I don't want to ruin the friendship. You guys have like 800 friends. And then like 975 more Facebook friends. You've got plenty of friends. You can spare a couple. Just mow them down, right? Not delicately. You need to just barrel in there. And here's why, seriously. Because if you tread delicately in there, you're not going to be understood. You need to make it clear. Here's the thing. I think I'm interested in you romantically. I know that's kind of crazy because we're friends. If it's not possible, it's not possible. I accept that. But if it is, I'd like you to think about it. I often say to students, especially students who are nervous about asking people out, you got to try this, show your interest in somebody, and then move on right away. Because it's like planting a seed, or it's like putting an investment. Now that the stock market is down, I don't like to use that. But it's like putting a small amount of money in a stock, right? And then you just walk away. See what happens. See if it grows, right? Because sometimes people aren't interested at first, but then later when they think about it, or later when they've dated somebody who's treated them like crap, and you're still the good friend, maybe suddenly their feelings change. Express your interest, not delicately. That's my advice. How do you like that? Don't be delicate. Stop being delicate. You're too delicate. Okay. All right. This is an interesting question. What do you do if you feel like you like everyone and no one at the same time? This is like an existential question. I like this. You should read Kierkegaard. No, I don't know. That's awesome. I don't know. I'm stumped. When you feel like you like everyone and no one at the same time. Anybody want to take a shot at this? Anybody? Here's what I think. When you feel like you like everyone, you know those days you're walking around campus, you're like, yep, sure. Yes, also that, sure, why not, yes. Absolutely. Right? But then you walk around campus some days and you're thinking, man, 10,000 people later, I can't find anybody, right? I think what you need to do if you're having an existential crisis like this is spend some time with yourself and figure out what is it that's really motivating you to disperse your feelings everywhere and then shut down your feelings. How about a question from the crowd? Oh, there's only like time for one or two more. Oh, sorry. Next to the person going abroad.
How do you feel about like the role of girl versus guy? Like, can a girl ask you that whole thing is very different?
No. Okay, so here's the thing, and I do want to say that that pretty much everything I say is advice to everybody, regardless of your gender, of your sexual orientation, whatever. The thing here is just to get courage, right? You got to get some courage. You got to get some chutzpah, right? And, oh, there's the chuppah earlier. No. And so what you need to do, especially women, because I talk to a lot of young women who say, oh, I don't want to ask anybody out. I'm waiting, and I just want somebody to ask me out, and that's how it's going to work. Guess what? Get over it. You need to get over it and move on. And I think that I got to say this. I think that for guys here at BC, it's a really tough road. There aren't a lot of options. You know, there's a pretty solid bro culture going on, right? Am I right? And you got to sort of fit into bro culture. And part of bro culture is sort of, no, whatever. Women, you got to break through that bro culture. So you got to sort of have some courage. But it takes courage from anybody, regardless of your gender, right? Regardless of whether you're a freshman or a senior, a crazy sophomore going abroad or whatever. You know, like, what this takes is courage and the ability to put yourself in a vulnerable position and still be okay if it doesn't work out. And still say, you know what? I still have some dignity, and I can let somebody down with dignity if it doesn't go well, but then I want to move forward, and I don't want to get stuck, because there's a lot of stuckness, right? I'm stuck waiting, I'm stuck because I'm afraid, I'm stuck in a bad relationship because it's better than no relationship, or it's better than hooking up. So let's get ourselves unstuck, I would say. Every single person that completed the dating assignment in the many semesters that I gave it, every single person, oh, there was one exception, every single person but one said later, oh, it actually wasn't that difficult to ask somebody out. It was much easier than I thought. And the one person who had a tough time, it was because she was asking the guy and her friends were in the closet, and so it was just a mess. That wasn't that it was difficult, it was just that it became a mess. So don't have your friends listening in the closet. That's not a good idea. Okay, a question from the crowd. Again, somebody from over here, I'm sorry. Hello.
You're a gay student and you're interested in someone who is in the closet.
Ooh, that's interesting. You know, I talked to a lot of students in the gay and lesbian community here at BC about this, and I think we've spoken about this, and right, there's that idea that the community is known, right? Sort of like, and there's sort of this, so-and-so dated so-and-so, and everybody knows everybody's business because, there's a smaller community here. And then there's sort of a connection to the sort of more, to the larger Boston community. But I would say that part of the developmental challenge that you guys are involved in is self-knowledge, right? Is finding out about ourselves. And when somebody's in the closet, it's their project, right? To sort of figure out how that's going to happen. And so there's no point in dragging somebody out, right? Just because we have desires. And so telling somebody that you're interested is different than saying, I'm going to come in there and drag you out, right? Does that make sense? There was somebody else over here.
I wanted to ask your opinion on cougars.
Why would you think I would know? I think the whole phenomenon is bizarre, right? I think, well, I could say a lot about television and how it's sort of perpetuating that model.
I'm not like 14 or 20. I'm like,
Within college, like seniors dating freshmen. Or sophomores. Okay, yeah, freshmen, that's sketchy. Okay, here's the thing. Dating between the years at BC, I'm going to let you go home soon, I swear. These people were standing. Gosh, thank you. I got to say sort of that seniors or older students dating younger student thing, I really think it's okay, and you need to sort of get over the feeling that, oh my gosh, they're so young. Because though 2 years can feel like a lot at this point, it really isn't all that much. It's worth trying, right? Level 1 dating, that's where you should find that stuff out. Because I teach freshmen, some of those freshmen, I can't point to any, are really mature. No, I'm just kidding. They're all over there. They're very mature. Some of them are really kind of old souls, if you will. And they could date upperclassmen. But some people aren't ready for that, right? And the same can be said of dating graduate students, right? I always say, stay away from doctoral students. They're a mess. Don't go near them. They're bad. But master's degree students are fine. I think, yeah, you sort of need to be open to that. Again, dates 1, 2, and 3 is where you're going to figure out if it could work. Somebody else? Yes?
What if you're stuck between the greater than acquaintance and less than friends?
If you're stuck between the, say it again?
Than acquaintance and less than friends.
Greater than acquaintance, but less than friends. You're there, that's when you ask somebody out. That's exactly. She's ready. That's the perfect time to ask someone out. Man, you're there. It's more than an acquaintance, but not yet a friend. Don't get in the friend zone. This is good. By tonight, what time is it? It's 10. By 11. You're on it. Good. Ooh, this is a good question. Can you level 1 double date? No. I would not recommend it. Because then you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is reconnaissance work. The information gathering. No. Level 2 dating is very nice with double dating. You should definitely do that. Yes?
So what if you go on a level 1 date with someone and you're interested, but then you see them in the hookup world at a party, like during the weekend? How are you supposed to act towards them?
Oh, fabulous question. Wow. First of all, first rule of thumb, don't hook up with them.
Okay.
Right. Okay, good. Second of all, ask that person out again if you're interested, but then within the context of the next date, say, look, I'm thinking I might be interested in you, but I'm not interested if you're just in the hookup scene. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. You'll get hurt. Last question. The final question. Wait. Anybody? Yes, from the back.
Yeah, what if something like goes wrong in a relationship and you feel like you can only blame yourself for it?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Okay, the question is, when something goes wrong in a relationship, what about the situation where you really blame yourself, where you really feel sort of the burn of what if? Is that generally the question? It's a good question because I think.
What if versus what not?
Oh, nice. Again, here's a situation where really good friends help. Because, first of all, again, let's go back to my favorite 2 words, move on. If you made mistakes, that's what dating is. You're going to learn things. And as I always say, look, in terms of dating, we're hoping that this only works once. Most of your dating is not going to work in the sense of leading to marriage. We would want that only to happen like that one time. So there's going to be a lot of breakups. You're going to learn a lot about yourself and the mistakes you make and the things that you're really looking for. But having good friends to help you sort out what went wrong and what you could have done differently or what you might have been hoping for that didn't happen. So having good friends to help you figure out what was revealed to you in the dating is a good thing. I would love to stay here and talk to you for hours and hours, but you have to get to the library to study, and I have to get home, and they have to clean up, and I would like to once again thank Campus Ministry and C21 and the C21 Advisory Board.